Have you ever gone to a bar or been flipping through a cocktail book and seen a recipe that you look at the ingredients and you're like, there is no way that this tastes good, but somehow it does? Well, anyway, this episode is dedicated to some of those cocktails. Welcome to Cocktail Limelight. I'm your host, Eric Castro, and this episode is all about exploring some of my favorite cocktails that don't look like they should work. By that I mean, when you see the drink written down, when you see it in your study packet, or you see it in a cocktail magazine, the first thing you think is like, there's no way that that tastes good. There's no way that that works. But then you take a sip and you're completely blown away. This episode is all about those drinks. In fact, it's actually about 3 of those drinks that are my absolute favorite. The first one we're going to try out is called the Laphroaig project. Much like the name implies, it's made with Laphroaig, but it's also made with both chartreuses, maraschino, peach bitters, and lemon juice. When you look at the ratios, it looks weird. It looks like some weird twisted Islay Scotch last word concoction. And you're kind of wondering, does it even need the peach bitters? But then you try it without the peach bitters and it doesn't work. Also, the drink sort of serves as a litmus test, and by that I mean if your home bar already has all the ingredients that you need to make this drink, you're kind of a certified badass already. So anyway, let's go ahead and make one now. First, we're gonna start out with 2 dashes of peach bitters, followed up with an ounce of lemon juice. Next, we're gonna do a 1/4 ounce of Yellow Chartreuse, a 1/2 ounce of maraschino liqueur. And it wouldn't be a Laphroaig project without a little bit of Laphroaig. So we're gonna do a 1/2 ounce of the 10-year. Though if you don't have the 10-year, the 1/4 cask works just as well. In fact, it's actually probably a little more authentic because that was what was originally used in the drink. Lastly, we're gonna top off this mixture with 1 ounce of Green Chartreuse. Now that we have all the ingredients in the tin, I'm gonna give it a good shake. Now that we've got it all shaken up, let's go ahead and strain it over ice. Or in this case, a really big crystal clear rock. Now the drink's just about done. It just needs a lemon twist espresso over the top for garnish. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the Laphroaig project. Let's go ahead and give it a sip. Cocktail's delicious. And not only that, but anyone who doesn't think so is wrong and should feel bad. On to the next drink. Now the next cocktail that we're gonna make is called the Trinidad Sour, right? It's a combination of lemon, Orgeat, Rye Whiskey, Angostura Bitters. You're like, man, that actually sounds pretty tasty. In fact, it's similar to the Orgeat cocktail number 1 that we made in a previous episode. But where this draws the distinction is that this doesn't have 2 dashes of Angostura. No, this doesn't have 3 dashes, 4 dashes of Angostura. It has an entire ounce of Angostura Bitters. I don't know if you know this, but Angostura Bitters are considered non-potable bitters, which essentially means is that they're assuming you wouldn't drink an entire ounce of this in one sitting. Whether you like bitters or not, I urge you to give this one a try if you like the ingredients, because I guarantee you, you will be pleasantly surprised at what turns out. Let's go ahead and make one. First, we're gonna start out with 3/4 ounce lemon juice. Next, we're going to do an entire ounce of Orgeat. You generally don't see a cocktail with a full ounce of Orgeat unless it's like, some tropical cocktail with, 4 ounces of rum. But it works in this case due to the copious amounts of bitter. Now, normally when I reach for the bitters, as I make a drink here, I'm doing, a dash or 2. But in this case, I'm actually gonna take off the entire cap so that I have easy access to all the deliciousness that's in this thing. Look at that. I'm pouring a freaking ounce in this thing. Now lastly, I'm gonna add a 1/2 ounce of Rye Whiskey. Now the funny thing about this is normally when you add bitters to a drink, the bitters are there to complement the flavors of the spirit. But in this case, that half ounce of rye whiskey is actually there to add complexity to the bitters. It's ass backwards, right? It doesn't seem like it should work, but it does. Now let's add some ice and give this a good long shake. And just look at the texture of this drink. The viscosity is just thick. This cocktail is #thick. Now to give it a touch of brightness, we're gonna garnish this drink with a lemon twist. Now, just for a little quality assurance, I'm gonna give this a sip. Oh my God, that's amazing. It is such an intense and complex, delicious cocktail. Created by Las Vegas bartender, Giuseppe Gonzales. So if you ever happen to find yourself in Las Vegas, be sure to check him out at his bar. I highly recommend it. Now this next cocktail is called the Death Flip, and it was invented by Melbourne bartender Chris Hystead during his time at the Black Pearl. For those of you out there that don't know, a flip is a cocktail that has an entire egg in it. But it's different from, say, something like a fizz because there's no club soda, and it's different from something like an eggnog because there's no cream or milk. Instead, it's just a whole egg shaken up, brought in a solution along with some other ingredients. So skip the protein shake, and get your protein in the form of an egg, while you also get a little bit of a buzz. Let's go ahead and make one. The first ingredient in this cocktail is a ½ ounce of simple syrup. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this seems like a drink that it shouldn't work, right? Simple syrup, egg, that's what you know so far. Seems pretty standard, right? But now we're gonna do a ½ ounce of Yellow Chartreuse. Okay, cool, pretty standard. Then we're gonna do a ½ ounce of Jagermeister. All right, maybe not what you were expecting. Don't really see this in a lot of modern craft cocktail bars, but trust me, it works perfectly in this drink. Now to really spice things up, we're gonna add some Blanco Tequila to the mix. So now we're dealing with Blanco Tequila, Jaeger, Yellow Chartreuse, touch of simple syrup, and a whole egg. How's this gonna end up? Only one way to find out. Now, since this drink has an entire egg in it, we really want to make sure that the drink doesn't start to coagulate and the egg doesn't get all gunky. So what that means is you want to shake it right away. As soon as the egg touches the alcohol, you want to start shaking it pretty much instantly. That way it doesn't coagulate and get funky. So we're gonna throw it in there without ice and just start dry shaking it. Now, for those of you who are wondering about the term I just used, dry shaking means that you're shaking the contents in a tin, but without ice. Generally, that's done so that you can emulsify everything, bring everything in solution, and help aerate it. Next, we're gonna add some ice and give it a traditional shake. Now to finalize this drink, we're gonna garnish it with just a bit of freshly grated nutmeg over the surface for some lovely, lovely aromatics. There you have it, folks, the Death Flip. Oh my God, it's lovely, it's creamy, it's herbaceous, complex, pretty much anything you could ever want to do in a flip. In fact, this drink is so delicious that you might want to do a flip. Maybe a back flip, maybe a sideways flip, a freaking hair flip. Any flip you can think of, you're going to want to do it because that's how good this drink is. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. 3 cocktails that are exquisitely made and are much, much bigger than the sum of their parts. If you hadn't tried these, it would be really easy to write these off as being maybe too ambitious or too weird or strange. But that's why I urge you that sometimes those drinks can be the most rewarding when you actually give them a try, because every one of these drinks seems like they wouldn't work, but does so fantastically. I hope that you enjoyed examining these 3 cocktails with me, and also, more importantly, I hope you give them a try and enjoy them as much as I did. Now, with that said, if you want to dive deeper into the world of craft cocktails with us, don't forget to check out the Bartender at Large podcast, which I host, over on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else that great podcasts are found. In addition, if you have any cocktails that you'd like us to make on a future episode, leave in the comments below, and who knows, maybe we'll be featured on a future episode of Cocktail Limelight. With that said, don't forget to muddle that subscribe button, and we will see you next week.